Hello everyone, I am Brittany, the owner of the Cosmic Lunar Soul. Welcome to my channel if you are new, and for my subscribers, welcome back. Today we are going to be doing a flip through and review of the Game of Thrones Tarot deck. A little bit about this deck. It is by Liz Dean, and as of the recording of this video, it is listed on Amazon for about $22. So I will make sure to put the link to this deck below, and let's go ahead and get started. So the deck comes in this really large box, and it has a little foiling around it. For $22, this is a really cool box. It's sturdy enough. It's sturdier than some boxes that I've gotten for equivalent prices, but it's also not necessarily the sturdiest, but it is also quite large. So you can see here in regards to the size of my hand, it is very much so a large box. So this is not travel friendly, but it stores the deck and the guidebook very well. So we can see here examples of 3 of the cards: the Hermit, Queen of Swords, the Empress, the title, and then on the sides the foiling goes all around. There's no title on the side, only on the back. So if you only have limited storage and you store it, like say you have to store it in this way, obviously you know the box because of this, but just know that the name is only on the back, kind of like the spine of a book. On the back of it here, we have Explore Game of Thrones with this beautiful rendered and wholly original tarot card deck. It includes 78 cards, hardcover guidebook, some of the HBO information, and some more examples of the Major Arcana. Okay, let's go ahead and open it up. You see here, no frills, just plain box, and we have the cards. So this is not brand new. I've been using this for a while, so this is more of a review than an unboxing, but let's talk about the inside of the box. It has these sections here. They did rip when I first opened it, but it's fine. It's been holding up really well, and even though I said this isn't quite travel friendly because of the size, I've traveled with this box just fine and haven't had any problems. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull these out so we can look at the inside of the box. You can see here these little pull tabs to get the guidebook and the deck out, and it's just no frills inside of the box. So this is light cardboard, hard cardboard, and there we go. So I'm gonna go ahead and move this to the side, and we can get started talking about the guidebook. So here we have a hardback, and as you can see, it's well loved hardback guidebook. It does not come with these tabs. I really like the layout of this guidebook, so I use it quite often. But for the price of this deck, this is an amazing guidebook. Usually for decks of this size, you just get either a lightly bound soft cover of similar size, or you get like one of those stapled leaflets. So this is a really pleasant surprise. On the side here, we have Game of Thrones Tarot Guidebook. In the back, just more of that bordered motif. So let's go ahead and open it up. I love that it comes with a table of contents. It gives you the layout. It gives you the breakdown. We have the introduction, laying the cards. So it goes through different types of spreads. And then we have the card meanings, and it's broken up traditionally. We have the Major Arcana, we have the Minor Arcana, and then the subsets of that, the different suits. And then in the end, we have the acknowledgments, and then about the author and illustrator. So let's go ahead, skip through. We can see the traditional spreads, past, present, future. I like that they incorporate some Game of Thrones lingo, like past is renamed as Dragonglass, and it says, what's the past situation, what can you learn from it to help you in the future? And if you know Game of Thrones, it kind of makes sense why it's called Dragonglass. We have Milk of the Poppy, and then we have Valyrian Steel. So I think that's really cool. It's just like, if you are really into Game of Thrones, it just makes it a fun take on very traditional spreads. We have this one that's called the Red Keep. And then each one is broken up into, we have the throne room, the Tower of the Hand, the secret tunnels, and the outcome. So this is really cool. It's basically kind of like an extended situation action outcome spread, but based off of the Game of Thrones world. Here we have the Old Gods of the North, Earth, we have Faith of the Seven, I Drink and I Know Things, and then Spread of the Meisters. This is really awesome, but you know, this is kind of broken up into different things. I won't go through all of it, but you know, we have astronomy here, economics, healing, magic, astrology, so forth. And if you know about the Meisters in Game of Thrones, that would make a lot of sense to you. Here we have the Major Arcana. The imagery here is transitioned over from the backs of the cards, which you can see here, and we will get into more later in the video. But it just gives you a breakdown of the Major Arcana, and then it immediately gets into the descriptions of the cards. What I love about this is there's the key meanings. It has the illustration along with it. It gives the representation of the character. So in this, it explains the Fool is represented by Tyrion Lannister, who risks his life to follow a dream. And so it kind of gives you an understanding, whether you know Game of Thrones or not, of why the characters were chosen for this representation. And then, of course, it goes to the breakdown of the upright meaning and the reverse meaning. So it's laid out very well for my type A brain. If you've seen my previous flip throughs, you know I don't like flowery descriptions, so this is awesome. As always, Major Arcana kind of go through with a little more description than the minors will, but I like that there is the imagery along with it. Each Major Arcana is devoted to 2 full pages, and it's all laid out the same, just the keyword, overall description of the character. It does go into a little more flowery description of the card's meaning, and then we break down the upright and reversed. So this is why I like to use this guidebook a lot. So let's go through to the Minor Arcana. So we have the Minor Arcana here. Gives a general overview that it's a 56 card set of minors. They're divided into swords, spears, coins, and cups. And then it gets straight into swords. So it goes in the order that I just said. I like that even though the cards are broken down into multiples on a page, they still include the imagery. So they don't have that in-depth paragraph like the majors do, but there is a little snippet here under this. So for example, the Ace of Swords, Jon Snow brandishes his sword, Longclaw, with the wall before him. So it just kind of gives a description of what's happening in this, especially, which is really handy if you want to correlate cards with characters in order to maybe help you learn or use it in a more in-depth way. That way you know who is being represented, like whose hand it is, or, you know, something like that. Again, though, it gives the keywords, the upright meanings, and the reverse meanings, and it goes through like that. So this goes in order, starting with aces through the court cards, and then immediately just goes into the suit of cups. And then all of the minor arcana are listed out in the same way. So this is the guidebook. Quite lovely. I'm going to go ahead and let's talk about the cards. So these cards are very well used. This is one of my favorite decks. You can see here that the card stock is, I would call it, you know, I always have issues with whatever is in between matte and gloss. So I would call these like lightly gloss. They slide very well, but they're not slippery. The edges are no frills whatsoever, just standard cards. And I would say that the thickness is pretty standard. You can see they're well used, they have nicks, and they're standard weight, I would call them. So no frills, but let's talk about the backs. These are the, if you're familiar with Game of Thrones, this is the Iron Throne, and it's basically just the sword motif that you see throughout Game of Thrones, and this is more or less the representation of the main theme behind Game of Thrones, so very appropriate backings for these cards. All right, let's go into the flip through. All right, guys, so that was the flip through. Let's talk a little bit about the imagery of the cards. So, if you noticed, and of course, again, if you are familiar with the Game of Thrones just story, the cards have a very dark motif going on. Like, even starting with the Fool, it's very dark, it's very macabre, and you kind of see that throughout the entirety of the tarot. So if you go through, let's look at some cards that I feel like are traditionally happy, and you will kind of see what I'm talking about. So for instance, let's find it. So for instance, we have the star here. Usually the star is a card of hope and dreams and, you know, kind of like that wishing upon a star idea. But if you, again, a lot of this is because of the dark colors, you kind of know who the characters are. You see that this is more of a desperate hope. That's what it looks like. So if you don't like that, if you don't want to associate that, obviously you wouldn't buy a pop culture deck. But yeah, it has a lot of darker elements to it. But that being said, I've used this for not general, but I've used this for readings for people in person, and I think that it gives, you know, honest opinions about the situation. Here we have the moon, and if you know anything about this is the moon door. So I really like how they have taken the aspect of this, because that is not the actual moon, if you know what that is. And then finally, let's talk about the sun. The sun card is another card that's usually about success and victory, and there's an element of happiness in there. And while we see these really lovely sunflowers, and you kind of see this dragon here, it almost looks like, even though that's not what's happening, you kind of just see this flower that is representing the sun, and it's being wrapped around with these I don't know what to call it, rings, interlocking rings. It almost looks like the dragon has created this, right? And there's this more so element of destruction that I kind of get from this, even though it actually is quite a peaceful card. But you just see this really dark dragon here. You see these dark vines, these dark plants. So while this is a happy card, there's a lot of that darker side to it. This would be a really great deck for shadow work, or if you just need some official, like, really honest opinions about a situation. One of my pet peeves, and let me just kind of go through, what's a good one? This one a lot of times gets me, so like, let's look at that. The spears is representative of wands in this deck. Wands, staffs, spears, they're very common replacements for each other in the tarot sphere, I'll say. But the representation visually on some of the cards for the spears is very, very reminiscent of swords. So visually, sometimes I have to take my time, because, like, especially with this, I know based off of tarot that this is representing wands because of the imagery. But if you are new to tarot and you're not familiar with those motifs yet, this looks very much like swords. And even when I'm talking, sometimes when I'm just talking real fast and kind of getting out what I'm seeing, even though I'm describing the wand situation, I'll say swords because these look like swords. Obviously, you wouldn't carry swords on your back like that, but just the way that they're shaped versus this spear. That looks like a spear, right? These look like javelins or something like that. I can't quite tell. I'd have to look at the guidebook again. But there is a lot of that, where sometimes the swords look like the spears, and spears look like swords, mostly in the latter view. All right, let's go through one more set, and then we will do like a cardstock check and shuffle check. This is the 2 of coins. Very interesting because it says a Lannister always pays his debts. So it's such an ominous card, an ominous saying for the 2 of coins, even though I get it. So sometimes, you know, just using this deck, I have to remind myself, you know, okay, 2 coins, relax, it's not that ominous. So, yeah, you guys, you'll have to let me know. If you get this, comment below, let me know. Okay, let's talk about the shuffle. The shuffle on this is really good, but you notice, obviously, there's sort of a wave happening with the cards. I don't mind that. It doesn't phase me. There's a little unevenness there. That is not that is not how the cards came. That's from the way I shuffle. So if you rifle shuffle or bridge shuffle, that might happen, but it shuffles really well. Overhand. And it fans out really well, beautifully. It's actually maybe too well because it's such a tight fan. But yeah, if you're the type that likes to fan the cards out and pick from them, this works perfectly. It's one of my best fanning decks without being high gloss. As for these shuffle beautifully. And like I said, it gets the bend in it, but I don't care. You'll have to let me know. Does that bother you when your tarot cards start to like bend with your shuffle? But I will say that these cards have traveled a lot. They've been used in person, they've been dropped, they've been caught in the rain, and they have really been very resilient to be such a, I would say, standard quality. Definitely not low quality. There's no frills on the edges, like I said, but for it to have gone through all of that and still be holding up really well, I would say that this is a really great deck. Alright guys, so this was my overall flip through, a little bit of a review of my Game of Thrones Tarot. If you guys have this deck, let me know below. Let me know what you think about it. What do you usually use this deck for? Does the darker imagery bother you when you do your readings? And, you know, if this is a favorite of yours, let me know why it's a favorite. And I hope you enjoyed this flip through. Make sure you check out my other flip throughs if you enjoyed this. Make sure you like the video, give me a subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future videos, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye guys.